Let's take it back from well, there's the flood and they're pumping water. But you were about to say about the ingenuity of firefighters. That's what they do.
The firefighters getting water was so critical to dealing with this conflagration, and it was their innovation. They're willing to try something differently and to make it work. It's the one thing I can tell you about firefighters. They'll find a way to make it work, and that literally saved thousands of homes. If we didn't stop it where we did, it would have burned from the ocean, which was on one side, all the way to the bay, and 1,000 houses in between.
What have you learned throughout all these years? How long have you been a firefighter already?
I've been a firefighter now 37 years, and it seems like yesterday that I was on the back step of a fire truck and pulling hose, or in a truck company with an axe and other tools. But yeah, it goes quickly.
Do you miss it, going to fires directly inside and all that?
There is absolutely nothing better than being on the nozzle of a hose line and putting out the fire. It is the absolutely best job, and they don't let me do that anymore.
Why did you become a firefighter? I'm curious for the people to know.
I just wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and it was an adventure. It was something totally different than anything else, and I wanted to be part of that adventure. And what I found out along the way was that I worked with some really great people, and people that cared about their communities.
And you find, at least I found, and I know it's throughout the world, firefighters are all the same. You go to a firehouse, you have the exact same kind of. Do you want to talk about that kind of vocational way of that all firefighters throughout every culture?
Every culture. I could walk into any firehouse in the world, and firefighters invite people in, other firefighters in, and of course, having lunch is a big part of a firehouse or dinner. And once they get to know you, they kid you a lot. So whether you're in New York or Paris, it's the same thing.
For the ones of since you're talking to firefighters themselves, do you have any advice for firefighters, either the ones starting or the ones in mid-career?
One is to enjoy the job. It goes very quickly. The other is to learn the job. Study material or after-action reports, that's important. Matter of fact, that's what we did. We came here and we studied the attacks by listening to stories. So I think it's important that when firefighters come back from a job, that they tell each other the stories. Well, what did you do? What was your part of this fire? And that's how we learn.
You've seen the capabilities of the French fire department. Are you jealous of one of their trucks or equipments?
I like where their trucks could actually get through traffic more than we can. The combination of fire truck and ambulance at the same time is really innovative, especially in a dense urban environment. But I think what I'm most impressed about is the willing to share ideas with us in New York. I think it's General Gallet's leadership that says, I want to hold a conference. I want to hold a conference with multiple cities around the world, New York, London, Tokyo, Belgium, Switzerland. He brought all of us together this week to share ideas. And I think that's what leadership is about. How do I take my fire brigade and exchange ideas with others and gain ideas back? So I'm impressed with that leadership.
So we've talked about the genesis of that collaboration between Paris and New York and what's happening now. How do you see the future and the need for further collaboration? What do you hope that will happen?
I think the future is going to be about more collaboration, and certainly General Gallet and I, we sit down and we talk about this. What do we want to see happen? Two things. One is to create a multi-city collaboration, and we know that it's very difficult for any fire brigade to do it more than a conference at a time. So we asked our friends at Harvard to help us out with that. So the combination of practitioners and academics will be able to bring multiple cities together. Paris, London, New York, Washington, to start, and then we'll expand out. And then the other thing we've been talking about, and haven't fully figured it out yet, but some sort of an exchange program where firefighters from the VSPP could come to the FDNY and vice versa. So it's the collaboration at a multi-city level, and then getting it down to the fire officer level.
Okay. So what, because September 11, November 13, two traumatic experiences, but also two learning experiences, not the same scale, but yet emotionally it is almost identical. What was the deciding factor for you? What's the kind of the turning point where you saw the need for collaboration when you were there together?
When we came to Paris the first time and sat down with the BSPP, what it was about telling the narrative. And we heard General Boutineau's narrative and General Gallet, and then some firefighters. And I was very impressed with their ability to share not only what they did, but also what it felt like, and willing to share that with us. I think when we talk international relationships, it's about sharing stories, and that makes it so important. There's another thing that we do in the fire department that after a tragedy that's also important, and I think it's unique for fire brigades, and that is that we work together, and it's the firehouse after an incident where people have gone through the same trauma, where we don't even have to talk about it. We know what each one of us have gone through. And I think that's part of resilience. Part of resiliency is that we, by continuing to work together in groups, in firehouses, we're able to move beyond the tragedy. It's not just me or my understanding of what took place that particular day, but it's this group. And I think that's where healing starts. And I think there's another part of healing is when we share the stories with each other. It's a part of healing, it's part of being resilient, and part of resiliency is to anticipate the future. So as we look at the two events from 9/11 and we look at the events at the Bataclan and the cafes and the stadium, we go through a process, and we all go through it, and it's a number of steps. The first is we honor the victims and the heroes, and we do that by going through a ritual of laying flowers and coming back to the scene, and that's important. And but then we do something else, especially for first responders. We look back and we analyze the past, do our after-action review, and then we anticipate the future. What's the next threat? What's the risk that we're going to face? And then after that, we try to enhance the present. And that process is so important to the first responders. What I've seen is that every city that has a major event, we go through the same. And what was special between New York and Paris is that we shared that process together.
Chief, Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here in Paris, and I hope to come back soon.